And welcome to Justice Serve TV. It is a huge day for Aidan Kearney. And what about Kelsey Fitzsimmons? Why do they seem to be after her?
Justice, people say, justice.
Love you, Linda. Love you.
Justice, brothers say,
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing "Oh Happy Day."
justice, justice. One word prayer. Justice, justice. Where are you?
And hello there, Linda Kenny Baden. How are you?
Hi, Michael Bryant. I'm doing well.
How's the weekend? Restful?
The
Exciting?
weekend. Uh,
Pick an adjective.
I did work. I went out to dinner for another third birthday celebration with somebody else having a birthday. Yeah. I don't drink, so I tried two cocktails that were non-alcoholic, and I think it had the same effect with me. Just the thought of drinking. And
Interesting. That's a very interesting. I had a friend in high
Yeah.
school. I had a friend in high school who was very good at not drinking alcohol but being drunk. So you mentioned something very important there.
Another year older, but you're still on the case. Serving up justice with style and grace. From courtroom drama to the final decree. You're the star of a show we all love to see. Happy birthday from your Justice Serve TV fam. Raising a toast 'cause you're who we stand. Justice served and candles burned. Here's to another year well earned.
All right, that could go on and on.
I
But happy
knew you were
birthday,
gonna do-
Linda
thank you.
Kenny
I knew you
Baden.
were going to do it. So, I don't know if any of you saw Cabaret recently that was on Broadway. They wore all these little stupid little hats, right? So, I was ready for you. They're
Oh,
all
yes.
off. So
You
it's like
seem to
I
have
had a birthday that I drank.
A wardrobe malfunction there. Yes.
Okay.
Well, thanks
Thank
for
you, Michael
thanks for
Bryant.
working on your birthday.
Yeah. I
again,
know there was some
appreciate that.
some confusion. Yeah, we normally talked about having the day off, but then for
Yeah.
some reason I kept being drawn back. I couldn't leave Michael Bryant.
Just when I
Just
think I'm out, you bring me back in. Okay,
Yeah.
so I know we have a very special guest on. We have some very interesting news to spread on the Aidan Kearney case and on the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case. But before we do that, this is actually a tease for something bigger. Madeleine McCann, as we know, the 3-year-old who disappeared from the Algarve region of Portugal back in 2007. There's a woman now on trial for stalking the family, a woman who believes she is Madeleine McCann.
Wow, this has
interesting,
got
right?
some psychological
Yeah,
implications.
so
doesn't it?
that is on that is currently underway in the UK. I want to do a little separate show on that, a little
Right.
a snack perhaps,
A
because
snack,
we could look
yeah.
at pictures of her, pictures of Madeleine. There was a DNA test request. It's very interesting, the whole story. And as folks may know, I've been there a few times, kind of following this story. I'm going to be back in February. This will be over by then, clearly, but it certainly opens up some more avenues for investigation. So,
Yeah, there was. Remember in the old times. Remember the Tsar Nicholas? He had a daughter and he had a son and a daughter who wasn't found. Alexandra. I think it was the child, and there was a woman who believed that she was that child for many, many years in Virginia. And then I think eventually DNA proved that she was not. But DNA is coming to the rescue and all. By the way, let me just report on something. The hunt is a huge success. Oh my God, Madeline Beach caregiver, all of you, thank you for the birthday wishes. I definitely
that
did.
is sweet. Yes.
Thank you. That is so sweet.
I was giving you the best. I had the best birthday present planned for you, and that was the day without me annoying you. But you've ruined
Oh,
that gift.
I can't. No, I can't with all of you. And I just wanted to tell you the hunt. I'm getting emails from a number of members who just the fantastic work that
Really,
has been
it's
done.
really amazing. Yeah.
And I'm going to schedule. Wanted to see what came in. I think I'm going to schedule live updates because we now know a number of things from our viewers who have found out how young Stephanie was found. I haven't told Paul Stark yet. He actually had a bad accident and a acetylene torch blew up in his hand. He's a
Whoa.
carver woodworking, so he's been in a lot of pain, but I will get back to him. So I think he's delaying his going back to see his kids who live overseas. But to talk to him about that because maybe he knows more. But some of the things that we reported that he told us confidentially we're kind of like supported by these articles that were found by our viewers and all. You're incredible. So keep up the work. If you are not a member, please join to be part of this. Who killed? I'm now convinced that it wasn't just what happened to. It's who killed Stephanie Caroline Velko.
Yeah, it's encouraging. And on a similar front, the book club, the Justice TV book club, I just reached out to and connected with Justin Brooks, the author of "You Might Go to Prison Even Though You're Innocent." I found a passage I think is amazing. It has to do with people that might lie that cause you to go to prison, specifically police officers, which makes some sense with the cases we've been following. So he's going to be with me and reading the excerpt. See, the goal is to have the author read the excerpt, so I don't need to. So we're going to do that next week.
But you are a vocal actor.
Yeah, but these are his words.
I know, but I'd love to hear the author read them, but I also love to hear your take on reading of the words because you're just amazing, Michael Bryant. People forget that when you are talking and in different voices that you have, that you're a vocal actor. You get paid to do this stuff, okay? And Justice TV is lucky to have you, counteract my New Jersey girl accent.
Well, thank you so much, and I think that'll be happening. It'll be a members only thing because I really think we need to beef that up, and that's why the hunt was invented. And so yet another perk will be the book club. And then I have some very sad news. I did not get on the jury duty. I was poised to go tomorrow, and I was looking forward to it. And I had to call in. You call in the night before. And last week, Lisa, my bride, was on the list to go last week, and they needed no panel, so that was easy. Don't come in if you're on the. This time they said, come in if we read your name, and it's recorded. So I'm listening to like 40 names, and there were two Michaels, and one was like Michael Parker. I mean, the delay was like, come on! But I was.
I guess HIPAA doesn't apply to jury duty. When you go to the doctor's office and they make you sign your name and there's a little screen and all, and then of course they come out and they read your name, Linda Kenny Bun.
Exactly. Yeah. So much for confidentiality. So I think I did the questionnaire ahead of time, and of course I put attorney and I mentioned the media connection, and they ask lawsuits, and of course I sued Massachusetts State Police. Is that a problem? So I'm sure all of those things. If I'm the attorney and you're the attorney looking at these questionnaires ahead of time, you're going to see stuff like that. And you're like, why bother? If it might be an issue for you, why bother? And I think that's where we got with it. So I'm holding hope for next time. Yeah.
One other thing, we are going to have a Halloween show, and my Halloween costume is already in. But the funny thing was, and I threw it out just to mention, my husband who got involved, he actually cut the holes out of a paper bag. I don't have it here, but it was because he said on Halloween I really should wear a paper bag over my head because I'm a Jets fan. But they won, and they won in fabulous fashion. So go Jets, Jets.
Yeah, so I was going to say congratulations, and don't get used to it. So it was a good game, though. I'll give you that. Okay, so maybe speaking of games, we've had we told you guys a while back about the woman in New Jersey that had brought a complaint, and that's I got to put that in quotes. I think she had filed a complaint. Anybody can do it in Jersey for an allegation that Aidan Kearney had what's the phrase? What's it called again? He was what is it? Cyber stalking or cyber something else?
Cyber harassment.
Cyber harassment. Okay, And as we did back then, we need to bring on the guy that knows what the hell this is all about, because there has been a development. And Darren Delver is here. He's from the hood there. We've actually we've gotten him to do some work for us. He reached out to the clerk and brought in the documents, or the receipts, as the kids say. So, in a nutshell, cyber stalking, cyber harassment. What happened?
So the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office, which is, the full-time professional prosecuting agency in that part of the state, reviews all complaints for felonies. And this was a complaint that charged what we would commonly think of as a felony. And so whether the complaint's filed by a police officer or a private citizen like this one, that is the agency that ultimately is responsible for prosecuting the case. And so they screen every new case that comes in. And an assistant prosecutor apparently screened this particular complaint, and upon reviewing the allegations, made a decision, drumroll please, that they would not prosecute that complaint as a felony. They would not keep the case at that level of seriousness at the county level. Instead, they would downgrade the case. They would remove the charge that was what we would think of as a felony, and they would reduce the charge to something much less serious. In this case, the charge of harassment without the cyber part of it. Cyber was what increased the seriousness, but they took that part away. They downgraded the charge to regular harassment, which in New Jersey is what we call a petty disorderly persons offense. And they sent the case back to the local court. Every town in New Jersey, and some of them share the courts, but every town has access to a local court. We call it a municipal court. And the municipal court hears traffic tickets. They hear local violations like you put out your garbage on the wrong night, or that your house is in disrepair, or that you're not following the recycling schedule. And they hear very, very minor criminal types of cases like harassment, cases like theft where the value is like under $250. They hear things like possession of drug paraphernalia, really low-level stuff like that. You're not entitled to a jury trial in municipal court. You are entitled to a trial before the judge. And every town does have a local prosecutor who's appointed by the governing body. And typically those local prosecutors, that's not their only job. They have a private law practice. Sometimes they do different type of law like family law, but they also serve as the prosecutor maybe once or twice a month in the town. Some of the bigger cities will have like a regular full-time local prosecutors like Newark or Jersey cities, but smaller towns usually part-time. And so the case has been sent back to the local municipal court for further proceedings, and they will duke it out there. That doesn't mean that the case is necessarily going anywhere. It doesn't mean that at a later date it won't be dismissed for some reason. If it's not dismissed, at some point it will proceed to trial in municipal court.
And Darren, you have the documents, by the
Linda,
way.
before I forget, let me hit the underlying facts here for those who don't remember. There's a certain person who was pledging to give proceeds of sales of materials that she was making or buying somewhere else to the Karen Reed Fund, and whether or not that was done to the degree she promised, that's unknown. But Aidan Kearney was suggesting she was a grifter. And it was as a result of those accusations, she brings this complaint. The complaint on its original face, which used the word obscene, and I'm not sure how this person thought that in any way was legitimate under this set of facts, but I'm sure that the prosecutor moving papers from one side of his desk to the other, or her, one side of her desk to the other, saw this and said, what the hell? What's going on? So then it goes back down to the other prosecutor who could then look at it and shred it and say, this is nothing, right?
Right, absolutely.
Okay. I'm sorry, Linda.
No, I want this. Darren brought the receipts, so let's
Yes.
take a look at
Yep.
one of the documents here. Darren, what is this?
So this is the printout from the public access website for the municipal courts in New Jersey. And you can see the next court date is in November at the local court. I think the 17th. I can't really.
I think it's the 19th. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the next court date in the local municipal court. and you see some language or some wording in the middle of the page there that it was sent to the prosecutor, and now it's come back from the prosecutor. And then toward the bottom on the left, you see that the charge says original charge, and now it says current charge. And so the current charge is harassment. The statute here in New Jersey would be 2C:33-4A. And that means you're guilty of harassment if with purpose to harass another person, you make or cause to be made one or more communications anonymously or at extremely inconvenient hours or in offensively coarse language or in any other manner likely to cause annoyance or alarm. That's what the statute.
Alarm, yeah. Amazing you knew that by heart there, Karen. Yeah, to cause alarm. That's pretty broad, I suppose.
Yeah, that's definitely broad. And then I think there is, if I remove that one, you also came, as we said, Darren does his research. You've got the other document up there? Great. This document, now explain to everybody if they go into the case what this is, what they see, what they're looking for.
This is the notice that was posted in the county court where the case would have proceeded if the prosecutor's office had kept it there and prosecuted it as originally charged, the felony of cyber harassment. So in that court, this is the last docket entry on the case. It's a notice that's filed by the county prosecutor's office in Passaic County that we're out. We don't want this case, case closed, sending it back to municipal court. So it says that the case has been downgraded, and you'll see that no attorney entered an appearance on behalf of the complainant. Nobody entered an appearance on behalf of the accused, which is actually not the case. I mean, Aidan's lawyer did file a notice of appearance at the county court, but I guess they didn't even process it and update the court records because this says that there's no attorney for the defendant. We know that's not the case.
Yeah, and we know that Mark Betterow did tweet out, post out today that he had several weeks discussions with the county prosecutor leading to this. But you're right. Just because he had discussions doesn't mean that they're going to post a notice of appearance and do the paperwork on something that I think all of us thought was just
frivolous at best.
Yes,
how about that?
Right.
This was filed today. Talk about breaking news. This was filed by the county prosecutor's office at the county court level today, saying we're out.
Yeah, and my law partner, Lisa Quinkell, is actually a Muni court judge in Monmouth County, and she goes once a week. She judges once a week. But they take it pretty seriously. But I remember being in Muni court with somebody complaining about sitting there waiting for a case call, somebody complaining about, well, the fence was built, 1 inch over the fence line. And is where you get the idea. Darren, does the original complainant have to be there can the prosecutor say, hey, I'm not prosecuting this. You filed a complaint. If you want to do it, I'm going to let this be a citizen's complaint and you have to prosecute it?
So it's funny. Years ago, our courts used to allow private attorneys to be hired by private complainants to be the private prosecutor. But we don't do that anymore. The court rules have been amended. And now every complaint in the municipal court has to be prosecuted by the municipal prosecutor or dismissed. And only in the very limited circumstance where there's what we call cross complaints, where there are two people who have each filed charges against each other, only in those cases can a private prosecutor be permitted to represent the two parties. The theory being, well, what's the local prosecutor supposed to do? These two people have filed complaints against each other. I can't talk to either of them because they have a right to remain silent because they have a pending case against them. So the courts do allow, in that one circumstance, cross complaints for private attorneys to appear as prosecutors. That does not appear to be the case here. We don't know of any complaint that Aidan has filed against this woman. And so the municipal prosecutor is now charged with deciding what happens to this case, whether it's prosecuting it, dismissing it, or anything else.
Right. That's our great state of New Jersey, which I think does it the best, Darren. I think, they quite frankly, the prosecutor here, I think, saw BS and said, out the door you go, especially when talking to probably both sides. I mean, I would assume talking to both sides.
You would hope.
Better row on the other side. I agree with you. Well, you didn't say this, but I'm going to say this. I don't think this is going to go any further. I think that this was a strategy that has not worked.
So a prosecutor who judges this solely on the facts presented, which is always what we hope, based on every indication that we've seen so far, and again, we don't know the whole story, but based on what's out there so far, you would think that a public prosecutor at some point would say there's not a crime here, and dismiss the case. So, I mean, we'll wait and see what happens. It may not be resolved on the next court date. It may take a couple more court dates before any final decision is made, but certainly the case seems to be headed in the direction we thought when it first started.
Yeah, and as Darren and I talked about a little bit, this is great that people have access to this part of the process, that they can file something if they feel they've been wronged, but then it has to grind through the system, and hopefully the right answer comes out the end of the sausage machine. Because I think this is abuse of that process. Somebody had a beef, thought this would help them get some sort of either remuneration or satisfaction. It doesn't look like it's going that way. So.
And she was in our chat, and I invited her on. She said after this finish, she wants to do it the right way. So
maybe sooner than later, she'll be on.
We're again invite her on Justice Serve TV. But I hope, Darren, you'll come back if things happen, if things percolate some more.
I would love it. Cool. But next time the Jets have to win also. Now
you put you're saying you don't want to come on. That's what you're saying. All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Darren.
I'll keep watching the case.
Okay. Great. Appreciate it.
Now,
and I just want to point out, by the way, but before we go, before we go, Leah, she shares a birthday with me, Leah Benoit. So, or Benoit. I think it's Benoit because that's how it was in all the witnesses I've had.
I would say Benoit.
So I want to really thank you very much for saying that. I'm happy to share my birthday with you. Defense Diaries podcast. Yes.
All right, guys.
Okay. Bob and Allie, hi. Thank you very much. And it was Anastasia. You're right. That was the young girl. All right. So you're going to now sum up, Darren. I know I've given you time to get your thoughts together. Mr. Prosecutor.
What's that?
I'm calling you Mr. Prosecutor.
Oh,
what is your final decision?
Well, I will be shocked if this goes anywhere beyond the trash can. I mean, it's just on its face, assuming they have spoken to both sides, and I give them the benefit of the doubt on that. I don't know if the first prosecutor did anything but move it from one pile to the other, because on its face, it looks like crap. And if it goes to the lower level and that prosecutor resurrects it and learns something different, it could come back up. I mean, that's the way the system is set up. Technically, it could come back up.
Not in New Jersey. This is not.
Well, that's what Darren was telling me.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
They could reconsider it if something arose that would suggest they need to do that.
It's not going to come back up.
I don't think it's going anywhere with the round file.
Matter, right?
But I just don't know that you have to make a massive argument. You listen to what's been alleged, and it's you can either prove or disprove that. It's pretty simple. Okay, so anyway, congratulations to Aidan Kearney. That's yet another notch in the belt, in my opinion, to worry less about, because who wants to go? Not that there's anything wrong with Paterson, New Jersey, but does anybody really want to travel down there from Worcester? I don't think so.
Oh, I was prepared to go. I had it on my calendar.
You were ready.
Disappointed.
Well,
I was ready. So we'll see.
Put the other date on there just in case. What was that? The 19th?
It's there.
November 19th?
I'm actually in the city that date because I have it's the one date I have.
Else is that day?
I think my theater tickets were that day.
You're what?
No, actually, that was the day I was going to tell you that I need to take off for nighttime because my anniversary, which is the day before, is actually we're celebrating it on the day after the 19th. So I'm letting you know now that I need the 19th off.
That will be totally forgotten many times between now and then. So,
oh Lord, thank you, Janet Davina.
Back to me on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Janet thinks that Jets are going to win because she knows Aaron Glenn, by the way, just so you know. It's a great old so.
Okay. All righty then. Okay. So here's what I thought we would do tonight. Because I was thinking this over. I get fixated on a concept or an idea, and this is the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case that I've been thinking about. And we did that one show where we talked about what could be motivating people to do what they're doing, seemingly targeting Kelsey Fitzsimmons. This, of course, the North Andover police officer who was shot through the temporary restraining order being issued by 3 of her former cop buddies. She gets shot. She's now in jail because the breathalyzer system scram was causing her pain from her injuries. In the court, Judge McCarthy, in her infinite wisdom, said, well, let's just make it easy. Instead of torturing her with that breathalyzer, we're going to just put her back in jail. And that's where she is now. We were there last Thursday for her hearing, in which she made an appearance, first time in the 5 weeks since she was taken back into custody. She looked good to me. We were able to record that and share that with everybody. But I started thinking about the background of the case itself. And I started looking I had not seen the petition, the civil petition brought by Kelsey Fitzsimmons against the police chief. We did that show where we looked at a fellow female officer's complaint against the police chief. And his name is Charles Gray. That was enlightening, right? So I wanted to find out, as we were putting the jigsaw pieces together here, there was a point at which she lost her gun and her badge as a result of some event in which her mental health was being challenged, right?
Right.
And then she filed a petition to basically say, prove that needs to be done. Then that was dismissed. And then she got her gun and badge back. And then days later, this incident took place on June 30th. So I thought it'd be interesting to put some of those pieces together. So I got a hold of the clerk's office today in Lawrence, which is the district court that deals with North Andover. Here's something interesting. You go online. What happens with anybody who's ever called a clerk's office and wants a pleading, a filing? What's the first thing they ask for? First thing, it's not the parties. It's the
Do you have an account?
docket number. Well, yeah, they might ask you that too. If they're going to charge you.
The docket number, or do you have,
They want
or do you have an account?
what's the
Right.
docket number? So I go online to get the docket number from the Mass government site, and it says across the top, public access has been terminated or deactivated. Which, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that just seems like a weird. They're basically saying it works, but not for the public. So when I call the clerk and they ask for the docket, I get to throw it right back in their faces. Sorry, your system says it's been deactivated. I don't know why. I really don't have time to wait for it to come back to life. And she was very helpful. I will give her credit for that. Within an hour, I got what I was looking for.
Wow.
Which was,
Wow.
yeah, it was nice. I've had no problem with it. If there's anything in Massachusetts that seems to work right, it's the clerk's office. I don't know. It just, in my experience, all over the state, all these different places that I've gone to or corresponded with, they've been fine. So
Well,
this
in
was
New Jersey, the clerk's office seems to work. Darren was able to
Which one?
get right in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Right in,
Yeah.
get the documents right away. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all that very easy.
The divided to me is when it's electronic or whether you need to interact with a human being. That's where there's usually a distinction. If it's all electronic, great, and as long as it's working and not deactivated. When you bring in the humans, it's kind of hit and miss. And in this case, it's been mostly hit. So what I'm going to do is, it was about 6 documents that I got, okay? And they put them all in one nice package. So I'm going to look at them and share them with you backwards because that's chronologically how it all happened. So this is March 13, 2025. This is regarding the suspension of her license and her firearms license number and everything else. And this is a form letter, you can tell, right? So they mark,
Right.
the reason that we're trying to get all this from you is you are deemed to be an unsuitable person with regard to this application for the following reasons. License holder was subject of a Section 12 by Lawrence General Hospital medical staff on 3/9 at 11:20 p.m. That relates to that event that took place in which there was a response to the house and she was crying and by all accounts, very emotional. She voluntarily goes to that hospital, Lawrence General Hospital, to be checked out. That's where she's ultimately diagnosed with postpartum depression. Her child at that point is 3 weeks old. Okay. But she stays over, she goes in voluntarily, stays overnight and checks herself out the next day and is perfectly fine. She had a moment, clearly. Number 2, you have been committed to a hospital or institution for mental illness or for alcohol or substance abuse within the last 5 years. I don't think she was ever committed. Maybe there's a form that they fill out, to keep somebody there who has come in voluntarily. I don't
Right.
think she was ever committed. That has a very different um, connotation, but that's what they said. Okay, March 13th. Again, this would have been 3 days after she checked herself out of the hospital. Okay.
Okay.
So moving along, we then get to May 6th. And for that month and a half, almost 2 months, there's no real record of anything of any interest happening. Clearly, there had to be some back and forth. But the next thing we see document-wise is on May 6th, this is filed by Kelsey Fitzsimmons against North Andover Police and Chief Charles Gray. And I have some video of him we're going to look at after we go through this, because I think it's important to get a sense of who this guy is. And one of the most interesting, as I tease this, is the 10-minute press conference they did right after the incident. I think you'll be fascinated by what they talk about, and more importantly, what they don't talk about. Okay, petition for review under general law, blah, blah, blah. So this is the petitioner, Kelsey Fitzsimmons, basically saying, we request this honorable court for review of the suspension and the denial of gun reinstatement, et cetera. So I'm guessing in that month and a half, almost 2 months, she's been talking, with the chief and the department and saying, what do I need to give you? What do I need to show you? So they itemize all of those things. Interesting, personal notes. Number 4, petitioner engaged to be married, owns her own residence. Yeah, little does she know at that point what the plan is. Lives with her fiance and the child born on February 16. She'd been on maternity leave from the police department. On April 30th, the petitioner was informed by the town manager, Melissa Murphy Rodriguez, that she was placed on paid administrative leave pending the results for a fitness for duty evaluation. So again, that's about, what is that, about a month and 2 weeks after the suspension. So there was something going on there, internally, externally, something was happening. So she finally gets this notice.
Right.
Highlight that basically says, you're now, they've kind of elevated the situation, right? Now she's on administrative leave. So on March 9th, this is the rehash of what we just talked about. Female having a mental health episode. They go to the scene. She's there with her fiance. She's emotional. She's looking for assistance. At the time of the incident, no homicidal or suicidal statements were made. Okay.
That's important. She has postpartum depression without what normally you have, which is, we've seen Brooke Shields talk about, was a lot, and other people talk about in terms of that you can have a suicidal statement or whatever. But it's serious. Postpartum depression is serious, but she's not in postpartum psychosis by any stretch of the imagination.
And that's why that was in quotes, because it is so important. It's something they're looking for, right? Paragraph 8 reported to the EMT responders that the petitioner had given birth 3 weeks earlier. The petitioner was willing to be seen at the hospital and walked out on her own to the ambulance. Okay. Again, important that they noted that. I give them credit for that.
Right.
That could have been very easily left out if it was more convenient for them. So she goes to the hospital, and they section 12 her at 11:20 at night.
So that's a commitment.
That's the commitment. Officially,
that's
that's their level of commitment there. It's not like 72 hours for observation, none of that stuff. Basically, she's now at the hospital. Let's see. The next morning, she gets a hold of the police department and voluntarily arranges to turn over her personal and service firearm. Not sure if that was a negotiation, kind of hard to tell. Or maybe she just in her clear head said, well, I know I'm going to need to do that. Right.
Right.
So she's discharged. She was seen by both.
Let's go back to that a second. It said
Yeah.
It says the officer Anthony J. Sousa above located the firearms and along with Lieutenant Domenico took possession of the firearms. They were placed into evidence. They don't say where they located them and where they took possession of them. She's in the hospital at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Are they at home? Are they at her home? They don't say that.
And they don't say from whom, or I mean, was the fiance still at the house then? You have to assume so, because the baby was still there, or we assume the baby was still there. So she was seen by the medical people, both physical and behavioral health counselor. Her medical records note she, quote, met with a behavioral health clinician this morning who feels you are appropriate for discharge home. So she's there barely 12 hours. Okay. Further, she was demonstrating good insight and judgment with multiple protective factors, including family friend support and outpatient therapy. So, and of course, they're referring to records we can't get because of HIPAA, and that's fine. So now we have the diagnosis. Diagnosed with postpartum depression at the hospital. She estimates she was hospitalized for roughly 12 hours. Thereafter, the petitioner immediately sought out and engaged in recommended follow-up treatment.
Right.
And she's seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist. And I mean, this is all very positive, about her.
Right.
And how she's
and something that we've
responding.
talked about is a very important thing to talk about. So many women suffer from postpartum depression. Not just famous women, but a lot of famous women have shined the light on it. So it's not an embarrassment. It's not something that doesn't happen to the normal person. It happens because of the hormonal imbalance. I mean, it's a thing, and the fact that she sought treatment for it is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, well, if you read the initial interaction with the cops, she was the one crying and asking for help. She wasn't being defensive. She wasn't combative. She was like, I'm having issues. Help me. Paragraph 13, she's been transparent and has cooperated with the North Andover Police throughout the process. She has followed the discharge recommendations from the Lawrence General Hospital. The petitioner shall cooperate fully with the upcoming fitness for duty evaluation. So she knows, she wants to get back to work, or at least have the option to go back to work. And so she clearly wants to do that. 15, the petitioner lawfully held a gun permit until the suspension on or about March 13. The petitioner believes the gun permit suspension and reinstatement denial is based on her brief hospitalization. Well, what else could it be on if there wasn't that, right?
Right.
The formal reasons given for the suspension are contained in a letter which is attached here too. Yeah, we read that. That's the checked boxes. Not very helpful, let's face it. Petitioner never convicted of any disqualifying crimes. Appeal is based on the respondent's police department finding, is not supported by the evidence. That's her reason for this petition. Filed within the proper time frame. Of course, Second Amendment protects your right to keep and bear arms. Doesn't create a risk. This is also, of course, critical. And this is their argument, right? Petitioner does not create a risk to herself, a risk to others, or a risk to public safety. And petitioner is aggrieved by the decision of the respondent, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I, by the way, I've reached out to Peter Kelly, the attorney who handled this for her. I've not gotten a response yet. If I do, of course, we'll share that. If we can get a conversation with him going, that would be great.
Yeah, that would be terrific. Invite him on the show.
Special update for Karma Dharma. Karma Dharma alert. The mug is in the mail. That's it.
Karma Dharma won the last Where in the World is Justice, and the mug is coming, Karma Dharma, but you're onto it, Michael. And yeah, I have to tell you, I give credit to my streaming partner, co-host, and you see why he won an Emmy Award. He thought I was going to take the night off tonight because it was my birthday. All right.
Well,
so
that's what we talked about.
He said all day pulling up documents, researching, doing all this for all of you on the show tonight. And I do think he's onto it, and no one else is showing you these documents. And I think this is a good thing that we're doing this.
Every time I talk to one of the clerks, what would be the first thing they said? Oh, that's a criminal matter. And I said, no. I'm very familiar with the criminal matter. I'm very familiar with the probate and family court matter. This is a civil matter.
Right.
So once I got them onto it, they were fine. Okay, before we go into what happens after this, I really want to listen to the officer. I mean the chief. Let me see if I can find that.
No problem. Here's Freedom Ring. I have to tell you, I know you don't like Julie, but to us, she's been very fair. So I only judge her how she's been to us. But pro Commonwealth, we have different opinions. We absolutely have different opinions, and and I will say that absolutely completely different. But thank you, Freedom Ring, for pointing that out.
Okay, so we're going to bring in the chief, and this is the where'd you go, Chiefy? This is the presser. This is the presser. If I can find him again, I know you're here somewhere, buddy. There we go. This is the presser in which we first hear, and I want you to take note of how many hours have passed before the, let's see if I get this one right. I see I have two different ones here, so stand by. There we go. How much time has passed? And you'll find it quite, I think, coincidental and maybe amusing. How much time has passed since they got the case and are having this press conference?
First,
you
let me
hear
say
that?
thank you all
Yeah.
for your patience last evening. As you can imagine, when an event takes place at 6 p.m. and we're all looking for answers, I know you had lots of questions last night. The public had lots of questions, but we thought that everyone would be better served by getting as many preliminary facts
This is not the chief. I'm sorry. He's here. We'll hear from him.
as we could, and then putting it out today, obviously with an eye toward being as transparent as we can, given the circumstances. Last evening, shortly after 6 p.m., 3 North Andover police officers went to 125 Phillips Brook Road in North Andover. And the purpose of going there was to serve a court-approved restraining order. The subject of the restraining order was 28-year-old Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Ms. Fitzsimmons was an off-duty North Andover police officer. She has approximately a year and a half on the job here with NAPD. 3 North Andover police officers were on the scene, one of whom was a supervisor. When one of the officers was escorting Ms. Fitzsimmons during the service of the court order, an armed confrontation took place. As a result of that armed confrontation, one of the responding officers discharged their weapon, which struck Ms. Fitzsimmons once. She was immediately given medical care, was med-flighted to a Boston hospital, and as of this morning, we're told she is in stable condition. The officer that discharged the firearm is a veteran officer, having served over 20 years with the department. Now, as you can imagine, we're only about 16 hours out from this incident.
Okay, how many hours out?
16.
Does that ring a bell at all to you? Like the Karen Reed case? At 16 hours out, Proctor had already decided
Solve
who
the
had done
case.
everything. And that
right.
was pointed out at trial by Alan Jackson that 16 hours, it's a done deal. Well, 16 hours here, they're just barely scratching the surface.
There are still lots of questions. There's an ongoing investigation. Currently, the investigation is being done by Massachusetts State Police detectives assigned to my office at the Essex DA's office under the direction of Captain John Costa and Detective Lieutenant Robert DeMeo. There are lots of interviews to be done. There are lots of pieces to be put together. There's lots of things that remain unanswered. But for now, we want to make sure that the people of North Andover and across the Commonwealth know as much as we can give out at this time, being as transparent as we can. We also know that serving restraining orders, court-approved restraining orders, are sometimes some of the most dangerous duties that police officers uncover, no matter who the object of that order is. Chief Gray has been a great partner with us, not only through this investigation, but through many others. I wanted to make sure we give the chief an opportunity to speak, particularly about his officers. And sometimes we worry deeply about the wellness of our police officers as well, particularly in difficult circumstances. So they're in our thoughts. Chief Gray.
Thank you, sir.
Now, before the star of the show takes over, things they didn't say that I think they purposely left out, and not because of the nature of the investigation. They didn't mention who had asked for the restraining order, not by name, just what person, how do they fit into the mix?
Right.
They didn't mention a child was involved, and they didn't mention the name of the officer that shot her. Although he got that wrong too. He said he shot her once. Well, he hit her once, but apparently shot twice. But anyway, they were far less than transparent. Okay, here's the chief.
Thank you. Just some quick words on what happened. It's an ongoing investigation, like the DA said. There's not much we can talk about. We're concerned for all the officers on duty and off duty, and we're just going to monitor and hopefully get some results.
Okay. We will be able to take some questions, and to the extent that the chief and I are able to answer them, we will. As you can imagine, over the next few days, we'll probably be getting more answers. There are lots of interviews being done. State police detectives worked well into the night last night. We spoke with them this morning. They're already at it this morning. So to the extent that we can answer some questions, we will. Some we may have to defer for a little bit more time. We're going to make sure that what we do give you is accurate information rather than speculation. I know you all appreciate that as well. So having said that, we can take some questions and we'll do the best we can to answer.
Was the officer, was the off-duty officer armed, and what precipitated the on-duty officer to fire at her?
So what we're saying is accurately that there was an armed confrontation. In terms of the details of that and how that came to be, it was during the service of the court-approved restraining order. But the very granular details, we're waiting to speak on until we get the interviews back from our state police detectives who are speaking with the North Andover officers that were involved.
How about the restraining order? Can you tell us what all the nature of that, who was it for, et cetera?
So I can't comment on who the plaintiff was, but I can tell you that a court order, there are check boxes. Oftentimes it's stay away from, no contact, and turn over all firearms. So the restraining order was a standard 209A filed by the plaintiff and served by the North Andover officers.
Were the officers going to retrieve her weapon?
Pursuant to the court order, one of the standard boxes to check is retrieval of any firearms in the home. That's standard operating.
Can you say where she was struck?
No, I'm not going to comment on the medical condition at all.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What's your take on why they don't mention a child was involved in the restraining order? No name, but just that element.
Well, let me go back one step before I answer that. I feel like a politician saying this. Why is it that a police officer doing his job gets to file a civil restraining order against the person that he goes to the house against to do his job? And we see that, right? This is the right.
Well, that you mean the Justin? Yeah,
Justin, he's a firefighter, right? So we know he
yes,
filed
and he was called 10 minutes after they got there and said, "Come on over." That's not normal.
That's what I guess I'm going to. I didn't say, but I said police officer, not a firefighter. Then you have the police officer who also gets an order through the courts, even though it may not be that he applied for it, to a stay away order, right? From her, the person who shot. This whole process sounds, I don't know. I think with regard to the child, it's because it's a child. Simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Obviously, you're not going to say who it is, but I just think they did that because it would immediately tell the press and then the public that this was a volatile situation. You know, we were serving a temporary restraining order that involved removing an infant child from his mother. They don't want to get behind that. They don't want to get in front of it. They don't want to be anywhere near it. So we haven't heard the last from the chief.
Interesting. That's an interesting take, Michael.
Yeah.
Were in the house at the time, including Ms. Fitzsimmons?
I can tell you that there were 3 North Andover police officers. In terms of other people in the house, until I get the full reports back, I won't be able to tell you how many and who they were.
Okay, ditch. That's a ditch, right? I can't. There's a specific question: who was in the house? Until I get the reports back, I feel like I'm watching a Jets press conference, so I have to look at the tape.
He can't even tell you that she was or wasn't alone, right? Can't. Well, we know.
I get the reports back.
We know who wasn't there. The fiance who made the complaint. We know who was there. The baby that they came to get. So yeah, it's just such just flagrant bullshit that they're hoping they don't get called on at some point.
We're actually looking to see what camera footage is available. I have not seen any, and I don't have any reports on any.
Do North Andover police officers typically have body cameras on when they're executing these court orders?
No, the North Andover Police Department does not use body cameras at this time.
Can you speak at all to her mental health, and also was this related at all to her efforts to have her weapon was taken away from her, and then she had sought relief in the courts, and I think it was Friday she dismissed that. Is this related to that at all?
So the scope of our investigation right now is the actual armed confrontation. I'm sure that there'll be further information coming out. I'm sure that North Andover PD will be looking at that as well. But in terms of commentary on her mental health, I'm not comfortable speaking on that at this time.
Can you talk at all about the efforts that, she sought to have her weapon given back to her? Can you speak to that at all, what that situation was and why?
So, Chief of Personnel Matter?
Personnel matter, yes.
Okay.
Chief,
Um,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just, it is a personnel matter, so we aren't going to speak about anything like that. Yes, ma'am.
I know you guys are pros. Can you speak?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I heard this question. I almost threw up. Okay. Are you ready for this? You ready for
Wait,
this?
before you, don't do it yet. Don't do it yet because
Okay.
the chief turns to look at personnel matter.
Yeah.
We know that it involves a personnel. I mean,
They could have said that the very first thing and said, we're not going to talk about it. Personnel matter. Well, what the hell are we doing here?
So what are we doing here? Right. Okay. So now throw up, Michael.
Okay. So, yeah. Listen to this question. This reporter ought to be stripped of whatever credentials she's got.
Speak about how you're all feeling today, not just the 3 responding officers.
You
how
missed
you're
it. Go
feeling.
back. Let's play it again.
Let's
Play it again before the question. You're all pros. Let's play it
Yes,
again.
you're all pros. That's how she started it. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can back it up here.
I'm
a little
sorry.
touch. You're all pros. So let me ask you a ridiculous question.
Yes.
Okay.
Chief, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just, it is a personnel matter, so we aren't going to speak about anything like that. Yes, ma'am.
I know you guys are pros. Can you speak about how you're all feeling today, not just the 3 responding officers, how you're feeling? What's the mood?
I mean, it's a critical incident, and like a lot of critical incidents the police officers deal with, we all have our own way of, getting through it, whether together or by ourselves, and this is no different.
How about the person who was shot? Yeah, an officer in your department who was a mother of basically almost a newborn was just shot and is in critical care.
They talk about she was air flighted out.
Right.
I mean, that's never good. I don't care. So I think you have to assume, well, she wasn't hit in the pinky toe. She wasn't hit in the arm. That's serious. And that question, how are you feeling? Not just those involved, but oh my God, I just so nauseating. Okay.
I think everybody in our chat just threw up Michael Bryant.
Yeah, I mean that person's getting paid to be a reporter. Are you kidding me?
A member of the department, did she know the officers who were coming to her home? Did everyone know each other?
I would assume so, yes.
Can you talk about her as an officer on the department, what she was like, why she wanted to become a police officer?
At this time, I'm not comfortable talking about that sort of thing.
How about in terms of charges? I mean, will there be some charges at some point? I mean, I would ask you just one other thing. That we have reports that she may have been involved in an incident in Maine at an Airbnb over the weekend, and then was involved in an accident on the Maine Turnpike. Is there any truth to that? Can you speak to that at all?
Not specifically as to what occurred prior to what we've spoken about already, but what the lead up to it certainly would be something that would be part of the investigation. And you had a first part.
Just one about charges.
All right, can we stop it right there? I haven't seen this. Okay, I'm watching this with our viewers, with you. Okay, and let me put this in perspective. Whenever you represent anybody, like in the Turnpike shooting in New Jersey, the state police superintendent came out with like the kids that are shot. They're not just the kids who are in college basketball, going to basketball camp. They're unemployed, right? Unemployed minorities that were in the car, right? Here, you have somebody giving what is maybe inside information with a slant to try to slant this. There's something involved in an Airbnb incident over the weekend to try to make it seem like, oh, maybe this person who was shot, our police officer.
She deserved it. She's a bad person.
Right, she's a bad person. So somebody is not only talking to it, they're responding to it. They don't say, I'm sorry, we have no comment on that. I don't have any reports. They say, oh, that's the lead up to this investigation. We're leading up. So they're already setting the stage to make you think that Kelsey Fitzsimmons, I was about to say Fitzpatrick, as you all know. Okay. Fitzsimmons is a bad person and she deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just a despicable press conference. There's a few minutes left, and then we'll chat.
Would she be charged? Would you wait till she came out of the hospital? Do you know how long she might be there?
So we don't know how long she'll be treated. The good news is that she's in stable condition. In terms of charging, there will be meetings between our state police detectives and our senior trial team. We've already met this morning. As of right now, I can't tell you what those charges will be, except to say that our senior trial team will be working with the detectives, and to the extent that charges will come forward, they will fit what took place here.
Well, I'm sorry, but in terms of what's her status with the department right now? She's suspended, administrative, et cetera?
Right now, it's on administrative leave.
How about the other officers? Are they on leave?
Again, this is like the DA said, they're 16 hours old. So we're assessing the other officers, and we're going through our policies and determining what sort of action is going to be taken as far as time off or any sort of other methods.
Yeah.
Are you able to say how long she's been on administrative leave?
I think we'll just leave it that she was on administrative leave. And
Yeah, I think that's a lie as well. And we'll see the documents where they resolve that whole issue. We read the petition, then there was a reaction to it. But I don't think she was on admin leave then.
I also
At
just,
the time of the incident, she was on administrative leave?
she was, we'll just say she was on administrative leave, and that leave obviously is now going to be extended. So we'll just leave it at that. I do want to make a comment, though. There's been 3 questions, and I think that all of them are very good questions when it comes to officers' mental health. And think about the things that police officers have to face. Now you take a look at the circumstances that are known to us that occurred in this particular incident. We worry deeply about the mental health of our officers. I know Chief Gray does worry greatly about his officers, as do I. I was a 32-year police officer myself. I know the struggles that the officers have, and I appreciate the questions. And I just don't want it to be lost in the swirl of the headlines that these are humans. These are police officers that have to make quick decisions, that use of potentially using deadly force. This is something that should not go unnoticed or unappreciated by the public. So I appreciate your questions on that.
Is she under guard at the hospital?
So we never comment on if somebody's under guard or what the security is at the hospital. That's just something that we routinely do not comment on.
You know, I sort of asked this question before, and you may have said that you couldn't answer it, but related to her weapon, did she have it in possession at the time of this or not? I know you said that the boxes are checked, and
Yep.
you know did she have her weapon been returned?
So we're not commenting on the weapons. All I can tell you is that on the order, there was a checkbox if there were weapons home to retrieve them, which we would have done if they were there. So, all right. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Again, I appreciate your patience last night and coming back today. I know this is a matter of great public interest, and we wanted to make sure that rather than come out last night and not really have much for you, we'd rather than be expeditious about it, we wanted to make sure that we were accurate and factual. So to that extent, I want to thank all of you for coming back. So
So we're going to drag you back in here and tell you nothing. So anyway, that was the presser at the time. Get a sense for the chief. He's kind of a tight-lipped, we saw the complaint from Ms. Gerke, complaining sexual harassment, boys club kind of environment. He's definitely like just the facts, ma'am, dragnet kind of, at least in this setting, right? Doesn't seem
except I guess the facts. He's got facts.
There are no facts. So this guy, yes, there are no facts. Okay, so let's go back. Let me.
And by the way, Ann Sten, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Join the hunt. Come look at that episode of Who Killed Stephanie Bilko and all the other things on there.
And be ready for the book club next week. Okay, let me see. Let me go back to my document here. Stand by, because we're going to pick up with where that left off, and you can see if it squares with some of the things they were saying. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Let's see. Well, that's the wrong one. Where did that one come from?
Well, in the meantime, let's mention it. That just got filed as we went on the air.
No.
That Alan Jackson wrote a letter to the mayor of Boston demanding that the commissioner of the Boston State Police, what we would call the superintendent here in New Jersey, be put on the Brady list because he lied about having any knowledge of Officer You say Dever, I say
Yes,
Dever,
yes.
you say
Never say
Devers, I
Dever.
say Devers, never say
Yeah,
Dever.
and apparently there was some
anyway.
meeting recently arranged between them. I don't know enough about it, but I did see a smidge of info on that.
Well, he met with her before the trial, but he says he didn't. When asked by a reporter, he says he didn't know who this person is, and it turns
No.
out that this discovery that's being released now in these other cases turns out that the FBI not only had contact with him, but told him that the officer they were talking about that he was meeting with the next day, I think it was the FBI, but somebody,
one organization,
was Officer Dever. Okay.
Yeah, and what a surprise. So I don't know. Before we wrap this part up, does that trigger anything you want to share with
No,
our
I'll
audience?
wait. I'll wait to I'll wait to the last moment of the show before I squeal.
So that was a bit of a tease then. All right. So anyway, so now we have this filed. We know that was filed May 6th. And then on June 18th, now remember when the shooting happened, June 30th, right? This is 12 days before. North Andover Police Officer Kelsey Fitzsimmons has been cleared to return to duty by a medical professional. Therefore, her license to carry firearms has been reinstated by the North Andover Police Department. Please cancel the LTC suspension hearing scheduled for June 27th. And there was a hearing that was pushed a couple of times, never actually happened. So does that sound like she was on administrative leave? Doesn't sound like it to me. And my sources tell me she was going to go back to work actually on a shift on the 4th of July.
Yeah,
4 days later than the incident.
And not only that, if she were on administrative leave, the guns would have been taken away from the house and they gave her the guns back because she was cleared to come back to work. That's how I'm reading it.
That's how I would read it too. Now, maybe they have some level of administrative leave where you get to keep everything. That I don't know. But this doesn't say a thing about administrative. Oh, they're big on the box checking, right? Yeah. Well, there's a box to check on there. Yeah, make sure you check the right box there. Okay, so then you have, check the timing on this, June 18th. You have then on June 27th, 3 days before the incident, petitioner's notice of voluntary dismissal of petition for review under general law, blah, blah, blah. Number one, petitioner no longer seeking relief from the court. Number two, the respondent has not filed any responsive pleadings. And number three, other good cause exists. That's the timing of all of this. And then the 30th occurs, and we know how that unfolds. So make your own determination here about who's telling the truth and who's not. But it sounds a little bit fishy to me, I'll tell you that.
And the person who's still in jail?
Yeah.
We thought maybe we'd have a decision today.
Yeah, it could happen at any time, but on your birthday, obviously they did not consider that. Maybe tomorrow, that would be very good if it were to happen. I've heard nothing new from Timothy Bradle's office or from Julie Hess. I reached out to her as well to reintroduce myself, and we'd like to get her on as well. So we will see. But that's what's happening. It's been bugging me, and I think it helped me. It's helped me to put these pieces together a little bit to get a sense of who's really telling the truth in this story. So.
Wow. Okay. So why don't you just talk for a second?
Okay.
Because,
you're going to pull something up? You have something special?
I want to pull something up that I had not brought into. I was waiting for the last moment, and you never know. Things in life change, as you know.
You got that right. Just ask Kelsey Fitzsimmons.
I'll
plug this again. I'll plug the book club, which is coming.
Yeah, plug the book club, which is coming.
You might go to prison even though you're innocent. And Justin Brooks will. He's huge with. Well, in fact, let me just read this for you. This is the inscription, dedication, some might call it. Let me find it here. Sorry, sometimes it's called a blurb. This is a blurb. I'll read the very end of it. Justin skillfully weaves together his personal experiences representing innocent people with research and cases from around the world, leaving no doubt that no one is safe from being wrongfully convicted. And you guess who said that? Barry Scheck, your buddy.
My
Barry.
buddy. Yeah, my buddy.
So that's what we're going to talk about. Right. This is like a horror with Halloween coming up. This is like horror stories in this book and the things that Justin Brooks has helped rectify. So we're going to get into that. It'll be next week. I think it's going to be Tuesday. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, are you ready?
I'm ready. Okay, so I have clues for you all. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay.
I sometimes I can pull the mother card, right? That's a nice mom. I'm your mom. I'm everybody's mom.
Your
Your trial
mother?
team,
Okay.
your trial team. If you read Jose Baez's book, everyone calls me mom because I take care of all the problems. I try to run things. But I've been working on a very special guest who may be on tomorrow night. That's all I can tell you. We've been trying to work out a date, but I'm going to give you a clue. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of clues. The first clue is the numbers 1 and 10. Now you're all good on the hunt, right? So 1 and 10, right? All right. So with that clue, let's see. You can kind of put that together, right? The second clue. Let me just add this to the stage. It has something to do with a case that I was involved with. All right.
Phil Spector's dead, so it's not
well,
Phil. Okay. All right.
All right. So, the chat has gone amazingly silent.
It's a reunion of sorts, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a
Can I use that
reunion of
word?
sorts.
Reunion?
Yeah, it's kind of a reunion of sorts. And the idea is to talk about some high-profile cases. Missy wants to know we're contacting Phil. No, but I am still very good friends with his daughter, who I put on the stand. I love Nicole. She just had another baby, by the way. And also, then we're not doing that kind of thing. So the third clue would be this picture. Okay, the third clue would be this picture. Okay, now we're all kind of like baby. I'm a little fat there. Okay, but we're all kind of like baby faces, right? We're all kind of baby faces. That would be the third clue. Okay, and the fourth clue is actually
That's a pretty good clue since
well,
Phil's dead.
well, there's also a judge in the back.
There's a judge. I can almost see. Okay.
And we have had Stephen Plord on, Chris Plord's brother, part of the trial team. I would just say to you that people think that lawyers who are high profile and adversaries really don't have anything in common. All right. I can tell you that if I drank, all right, you're more likely to go out for a drink with your adversary in a high profile case than you are with anybody sitting in that courtroom. Someone said Judge Bruce Willis, someone said Marco Rubio, someone said the judge. Well, these are all really good answers.
They are good
but
answers.
if things go according to plan, okay, if things go according to our plan, and I'm going to tell you, it's as substantively tentative as you can get, or tentatively substantive as you can get. Our guest will be this, okay, tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on Justice Served TV. Now, that may change because both of us have some issues with tomorrow's date, but right now, that's the tentative plan. So if that goes forward, we will post the thumbnail in the morning that has this. In the meantime, our place thumbnail will remain up. But we will let you know about whether or not Alan is going to be on with Linda and Michael refereeing to talk about some really interesting subjects you haven't spoken to him about. And that would be my birthday present to come from Alan Jackson, by the way, if he decides to do that. So stay tuned for more information. But right now, that is our plan. 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
Okay. I'll be
here. I can see that there's a lot of huge excitement in the chat about this.
I saw a couple AJ guesses.
Like none. Okay. He doesn't go on many shows, as you know. He's been on Aidan show. He's been on Billy Bush show. Billy Bush show.
I think he did Howie Carr.
He did Howie Carr. He hasn't been on many shows. So if Missy Mayhem's still a nervous wreck. So we're trying to bring this in. All right. So this is the biggest tease you've ever had. All right.
Yeah.
So
you've qualified it tremendously.
Well, it all works well. 6 p.m. tomorrow night for a belated birthday gift. And so Michael Bryant stuck with me again for another night.
Okay. The birthday celebration continues. All right. So, we're all looking forward to that. I got one or two questions because I'm used to yelling at him and he can't talk to me. So this is going to be very exciting to actually have a conversation.
He did talk to you. He said, I love you, Linda.
I mean, when I'm on the street asking him questions and he can't answer them because there's a gag order.
That's the one you answered. That's the one question he answered.
Oh, that
for
was.
You.
And that was,
at our beginning.
And to be perfectly clear, that was before the gag order. The only question I asked him was when the day the gag order was instituted, I said, Mr. Jackson, I know I can't ask you any questions about the case. Who are you wearing? That was my first question after
That's
the
a
gag
great
order.
question.
Yeah.
I'm actually wearing my Amazon blouse.
Oh, well, all right then.
Uh,
Okay, I think that's just about enough of that. I'm Michael Bryant. That's Linda Kenny Baden. We are Justice Served TV. Try to do the right thing.